The documents you need in order to file for divorce are, first, a complaint for divorce in which you state your case. There's specific items that have to be included in that complaint. Not only do you have to plead your case, but you have to pray for the relief that you're seeking. You need a domestic relations financial affidavit, which is basically a budget form that tells the court in a format that the court's accustomed to what the financial circumstances are of yourself and what the assets are and the income. And you need a verification, which is a sworn statement that everything contained in the complaint for divorce is true and correct. That's all you need in order to file. In order to prepare for divorce, though, you need far more than that. You need to gather all the evidence that you can in advance before you file your divorce, because a lot of that evidence may not be available to you after you file, such as bank statements, mortgage statements, copies of bills, and any other documents that may be proof of assets or liabilities. A person that is considering filing for divorce needs to prepare themselves emotionally by perhaps even seeing a counselor, because you need to try to get the emotion out of divorce as much as you can. Other than issues of custody, a divorce is a financial transaction. It's all about money and things. And emotion tends to cloud your judgment in looking at those things. The best way to prepare for a divorce emotionally is to talk to a good lawyer that knows what they're doing. Talk to a family law attorney and let them discuss the issues in your case with you and kind of give you a understanding of what you should expect during the divorce and what kind of outcome is possible for your case. One way not to prepare yourself emotionally for divorce is by discussing everything going on with all your friends and relatives. Listening to everybody else tell you their war stories about their own divorces. These things can simply churn up the emotion. You should also try not to get into emotional discussion with your spouse prior to the divorce. That could lead to arguments and or family violence. A lot of people prepare themselves emotionally for the divorce by talking to a minister, whoever their religious leader might be, by talking to their parents, talking to the folks that love them and care about them and can give them some support and guidance. Sometimes people ask me if they should tell their spouse that they want a divorce. If you think you can do that without it being a volatile situation, that's not a bad idea if it can be done in a civil manner. But if you think it's going to be volatile, then a lot of times you just hire your attorney and let them file the divorce and serve your spouse. That can be a real shock on your spouse, though, and it can lead to sometime an explosive reaction. My advice in that regard is talk about your individual case with your attorney and let them help you make that decision. If you do feel you have to tell your spouse, sometimes the less said, the better. They're going to want to know why, if they don't already know. In most cases, you deciding that you want a divorce is not just a spur of the moment thing. There's things been going on, and your spouse probably knows. It's not a good idea to get involved in a discussion and an argument in which you're pointing fingers and trying to set blame. You just need to discuss it with your spouse in a rational manner if possible. Sometimes, if you think they may be irrational and or volatile, it might be good to have someone else with you, perhaps a family member or a good friend, so that you have some protection in case things don't go well. In order to obtain a divorce in the state of Georgia, you have to have lived in the state for at least 6 months. That's jurisdiction. Your spouse needs to be a resident of Georgia or have some, you have to show some minimum contact in regard to your spouse. Let's say you lived in Ohio and you moved down here to Georgia, but your spouse never came with you. That's not going to give you jurisdiction over your spouse. You're going to have to file it where your spouse is located. But if the two of you move down here and you stay here for 6 months, then you have jurisdiction and Georgia can handle your divorce. If you have lived in Georgia for at least 6 months and your spouse moves out of state, you have 6 months to file your divorce in Georgia before you lose jurisdiction over your spouse to seek a divorce. If you're thinking about divorce and don't know what to do, you should call Daniels and Taylor and let us help you. We will guide you through the process. We will help you understand the issues of jurisdiction and venue. And we really prefer to be the plaintiff if possible, to get in there and file the complaint first, because the plaintiff has some advantages in court in that they get to present their case first. The first thing that the judge hears comes from the plaintiff's side of the case. And the plaintiff gets to make closing arguments last. So the last thing that the judge hears is coming from the plaintiff. If your spouse has already filed, come see us. We can help you, and we can prepare for the fact that you are the defendant. And I believe we can get the outcome that you need either way.